Joining us now is Okpe, with stories trending around the world. Hello, Oji.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. You see, you clap for yourself. I'm not clapping with you. How are you?
I'm good.
Great. Good morning, Leila. How are you?
I'm good.
Perfect. Well, good morning to you, viewers. We begin what's trending in Nigeria. An audio recording by an Ilorin-based journalist, Rotimi Jolayemi, which criticized the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has gone viral on social media. The journalist was detained by the police in Kwara State on May 6th. His offense, according to the police, was contrary to Section 24, subsection 1B of the Cybercrime Act 2015. Well, let's take a quick listen to the audio recording, which is in Yoruba language, but has been translated into English.
Well, I mean, I had the privilege of listening to that video because it was circulated widely.
Correct. All over social media, everyone's seen online. It, yes.
Now, but the issues to worry about here, they are in two parts, in my view. The first part is that before Jolayemi, Obewi, as he's otherwise known, Rotimi Jolayemi,
yes.
Obewi, that's the king of poetry. Before he was arrested, first his wife was arrested. Later, his brother was also arrested, and eventually he went and reported to the police station. I have issues with that. The issue I have with that is that a person cannot be punished for an offense that he has not committed. I mean, that's like a throwback to the era of military dictatorship. If you have committed an offense, the state does not have the right to go and pick your brother or pick your child or pick any of your relations. Now, that will be punishing those people for what they have not done. And these persons were kept in detention until he showed up. So my advice to Dorcas Jolayemi, his wife, and his brother is that, look, they should sue the Nigerian police for unlawful detention because they're not the ones who committed
They were detained for about 8 days.
Yes, it's a violation of their fundamental human rights. Now, eventually, Rotimi Jolayemi went to the police station, and the police charged him to court on the grounds that he had insulted the Minister of Information.
Which he did.
And of course, they also said in the story that it wasn't the minister himself, although the minister himself has the right under the law to sue anybody for defamation or for criminal libel. And the allegation why they chose to charge him under Section 24, subsection 1B of the Cybercrime Act was that he distributed the poetry on WhatsApp, and it went viral. So that should also draw the attention of the public to the fact that when you share something on WhatsApp or Facebook, you could be held liable for it. So there's a Cybercrime Act. However, he was detained for 16 days before he was charged to court. Now, ordinarily, anybody that is arrested is supposed to be charged to court within 48 hours. The question to now ask is that, on what did they charge him for? Is it defamation or is it criminal libel? And did they get a court order from a magistrate court as stipulated under the ACJ, Administration of Criminal Justice Act, for him to be detained beyond 48 hours? These are questions to be asked. However, all of this will seem to be on the side of the king of poetry, as he's otherwise known. What we must note is that a lot of people have said on social media that, oh, this is a case of attack on the freedom of
expression,
of speech, freedom of expression and the intimidation of journalists. Well, to such people, I will refer them to the content of the poem itself. Yes. If you look at it, saying that whoever gave birth to Lai Mohammed made a mistake, calling him a liar, saying that the man should be in jail, calling him, you even using a strong word, saying mad.
Yes.
Now, that's completely
horrible.
off limits.
Yes, I agree with you.
The fact that a person is a journalist does not give you absolute rights under the Constitution. There's nowhere in the Constitution that the Constitution says a journalist can make defamatory statements. And the Criminal Code also has provisions with regard to defamation and libel. And even in terms of training There's a book by Francis Merrill called Responsible Journalism. Journalists are supposed to be responsible in the discharge of their duties.
I cannot agree with
the risk journalists run is that if you go beyond the bounds and you violate the rights of the other person, then you will be charged to court. Because if you call somebody mad, if you say his parents did not have the right to bring him to life, if you say that the man is a liar, well, the principle in law is that you who alleges must prove.
Correct.
So what Rotimi Jola-Yemi will be asked to do in court is to prove that Lai Mohammed is mad, as he alleges, that he should not have come to act, as he alleges. And I think that there is a lesson here for all journalists and all commentators.
You have said it very well, Dr. Abati, very well said. Should we take another story? As yesterday marked International Children's Day, tributes celebrating children across the globe circulated on social media. In Nigeria, the personal assistant on new media to President Muhammadu Buhari posted selected photos of the president with children at Aso Rock. His tweet read, "My colleague Bayo Omoboriowo, who is the president's official photographer, sends out some selected file photos of President Muhammadu Buhari with children to celebrate this year's International Children's Day. The president's love for children is huge, and they love him too, greatly." Well, many users reacted to the photos. Some questions the caliber of children in the photos. One user, Yusuf, wrote, "Why not with the Almajiri children and other vulnerable children in other parts of the country? Or are those ones not worthy to see the president in the villa?" Others called out the president for flouting social distancing rules. One user wrote, "I guess social distancing only works for the vulnerable citizens. May God give us good health and raise this country to a better height." I mean, if we have those pictures, we could pull those up now. I mean, those pictures I thought were really beautiful. But, you know, if you're doing PR, I think you have to be really careful. That's my only issue with these photos, with the type of things that you put out there. Because, I mean, you know that we're here during the whole pandemic. Everyone is worried about social distancing. And that one picture, you know, had the president with, you know, several children.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, so that's one of the issues on this. But the issue is, I mean, you could see that these pictures are from different days. And he wrote selected file, which is the media aid wrote selected file. So it looks like pictures, old pictures that they pulled out from the president's archives to share on social media. But also the point that people were making was that, you know, he could have, you know, been out there celebrating with the children that are less privileged, which is, I think, is a valid point. But I think, I mean, it's Children's Day. And, you know, I think it's a beautiful example that he set.
Well, I mean, certainly old files, because they can't be pictures from any time since the pandemic hit.
Outfits,
exactly.
Yes.
But I think the bigger picture here is that when it comes to PR on behalf of the presidency, often at times they actually just fail to identify the problems as well. And if we look at what children are going through in Nigeria today, it is awful. It is awful to be a child in Nigeria today for so many children. We have the highest out of education statistics in the world. If we want to talk about what children are having to go through with insurgency in different parts of the country, if we want to talk about the number of children that are displaced, it would be nice to see these problems being addressed at the forefront rather than all the mollycoddling that we always get with events like Children's Day. Let's actually see how we can improve the lives of Nigerian children, because right now there's nothing to write home about.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you are very right in that regard, and that's why we've consistently advocated that the governors of the 19 northern states should pay more attention to education. Only the other day, we commended the governor of Kaduna State for saying that he was going to take the plight of the Almajiri more seriously. But it's not just the northern states. It cuts across the entire Nigeria. And then those governors who have refused to endorse the Child Rights Act, and they know themselves, you know, should do that, because we have issues with regard to the rights of children, with regard to the rights of the girl child, particularly underage marriages, child marriages in Nigeria. But to come to this, I think that it should be placed in proper context. The people who put out the social media assistant, who put out the tweet and used these photos on the occasion of Children's Day, merely wanted to use these pictures to illustrate the fact that the president of Nigeria loves children. You brought some photographs the other day to show that he's a family member. So he was not thinking of COVID-19. He just wanted to show that COVID or no COVID, the president is a child-friendly president. That's the message. We shouldn't lose sight of that.
Yes, that's the message. But like I said, it's very important to manage the image that you put out there. So that's the reason why it was so viral on social media, where people were talking about it and wondering where these pictures were from. You know, just really identify it, like you said, and make sure that your caption reads exactly what you mean. Well, still in Nigeria, let's take another story. Pictures of the ventilators developed by the Nigerian Air Force have finally emerged. The emergency ventilators tagged NAF events were unveiled by the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar. The equipment was produced by a team of researchers from the Air Force Research and Development Center and the Air Force Institute of Technology, Kaduna, as part of the drive to provide indigenous solutions to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. The Nigerian Air Force also used the unveiling to appeal to the individuals in the private sector to invest in the initiative to ensure mass production.
This is brilliant.
I know.
Let's take a very quick break and then we'll come back to discuss this more. You're still watching The Morning Show here on Arise News. Stay with us. Still with us, looking into what's trending today. And before we went on a break, you brought the brilliant news of the ventilators created by the Nigerian Air Force that they have now unveiled. Over to you.
Yes, I mean, we've been talking about this now for several months, and it's so exciting that it happened. I mean, the Chief of Air Staff also gave a speech, and it's brilliant that, you know, this is happening at this time that we really need it. You know, obviously, we still need more ventilators to come out of Nigeria, and that's why that they have appealed to manufacturers to try to make more of these ventilators.
Well, ventilators are necessary in the case management of COVID-19 when the case is severe. We have seen efforts from around Nigeria with regard to either the design of ventilators or the manufacture of ventilators. It's good to see the Nigerian Air Force, its research and development department, also making a contribution to these home source, efforts. But before the Nigerian Air Force, we've had a report from the University of Jos Teaching Hospital where two engineers, two software engineers, helped to repair about 4 out of about 70 or 40 or 70 ventilators that hospital had, which had been, in disuse. Those persons, one is Gian, one is Jibril, they were commended for their effort. They even made it to the pages of BBC. Now, there was also a report from the University of Benin. I think you brought the story.
We took the story.
The Faculty of Medical Sciences and Engineering, where they designed a ventilator, that could work even without electricity.
That was a genius design.
Yes,
Plus, you could use it for children and adults too. I mean,
and then you have the contribution also by the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, DICON. They also came up with a ventilator with face shield, with face mask, and with protective equipment. And you now have this coming from the Nigeria Air Force. The thing to say, apart from commending all these efforts, is to ask what level of support are they receiving from the Nigerian government or from the Presidential Task Force? Because it's not enough to design something. For you to mass produce it, you will need resources, you will need state support. And I just hope that all these reports of scientific and research efforts being made is not just for display. We're told, Air Force has done this, DICON has done this, this has been done in Jos or in Benin, and then it just ends, with, just the publicity of it. I think that the Presidential Task Force should pay close attention to these efforts and see how these people can be supported, whether they are military or they are academic researchers.
Very well said. Well, still in Nigeria, the federal government has suspended further evacuation of Nigerians stranded abroad over the COVID-19 pandemic. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jeffrey Oyama, announced this on Wednesday during the Presidential Task Force briefing on COVID-19. The minister said the evacuation was suspended to give room for new measures that would require citizens returning from overseas to get tested and self-isolate at home rather than selected hotels. He added that the evacuation is expected to continue soon.
I think this is a good development, to be honest with you. The initial strategy was not working.
No, it wasn't going to work anyways. But I think also, this is another, measure. This is another time that these Nigerians that are stuck abroad are still going to have to wait. Well, he says next week, but who really knows?
They were not even sure on their next week.
Yeah, so that's another issue. But I love the measures. He also said that the people that are coming in will have to be tested within, 5 to 9 days. And also when they come in, their samples are going to be taken and by the Dangote Foundation, and then they can go home and self-isolate. So, I think it's a great way that they should have done that earlier, as opposed to, having them in those hotels and having some people even get more sick.
Makes it a lot easier. Yes.
Well, you recall that a few weeks ago, the Presidential Task Force disclosed that they are more or less overstretched. And even yesterday, the point was made that, they don't have enough bed spaces, that the entire country just has about 5,000 bed spaces, with up to about 4,000 persons asking to be evacuated from various countries, and 3 countries haven't had persons evacuated from there: the UAE, Egypt, the United Kingdom, and the US. I think 4 countries. We still have so many people, in Asia and Europe who want to return. And then we don't have bed spaces. Hotel owners do not want to give up their hotels. And at a point, the federal government had said, if you return home, right, you will be responsible for your own upkeep. When there was a complaint about that, what then happened eventually was the NNPC and the Central Bank of Nigeria offered to feed persons that may have to be quarantined. Now, so what happens now to that offer by the NNPC and the CBN? Because if the excuse is that we are changing protocol because we don't have resources, we don't have bed spaces, it doesn't mean that the NNPC and the CBN are both changing their minds about helping to keep people in quarantine when they are evacuated from abroad.
But that would be fair enough, because at the end of the day, the entire point is if you're going home at your own prerogative, then that's on you and it's not on the federal government. So, I don't really think we can also expect that by telling people to go home and self-isolate, we can still expect other agencies or companies like the NNPC to have a hand in that process. It would be nice, but really and truly, the government has said you wanted your freedom, you got your freedom.
No, but what I'm saying, I'm not saying people should not be asked to go home to self-isolate. I'm saying that the Minister of Foreign Affairs did not exactly disclose what the problem is. Is it the problem of bed spaces, or is it feeding, which NNPC and CBN are
talking about bed spaces. They've been talking about
bed spaces.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is.
It just didn't work.
It doesn't work, really.
It just proved to be a strategy that just did not work.
So it's an admission of failure then?
No,
that's what you're saying.
Re-strategizing. That's what they said, Dr.
We're all testing and trying.
Exactly. Nobody was ready for this whole pandemic.
Nobody knows what to do. You have to
every
test
time,
and try.
Everything changes. But I think that it's great that they did. This development is really helpful at this point. Well, should we head over to Zimbabwe now, where police have arrested or fined 40,000 people for breaking lockdown restrictions. Most of them were arrested for breaking the rule on not moving more than 5 kilometers from their homes. Others failed to wear masks or kept their businesses open. Zimbabwe has been on lockdown since the 30th of March. Official statistics show COVID-19 cases remain relatively low, with 56 cases recorded, 25 recoveries, and 4 deaths. Last week, Zimbabwe's president extended the lockdown indefinitely, warning that the country remains at risk of spike of a spike in cases. I mean, I think Zimbabwe is certainly a good example for Africa, really. I think that their measures, that their lockdown measures are great.
The only question I would ask is, I hope that this has not been an opportunity for the Zimbabwean police to exploit people, to extort money, to bully people, to take people in for the wrong reasons, because 40,000 is a high number.
Rules are rules.
Rules are rules. Rules are rules, and quite frankly, kudos to them, because you have to enforce the rules. If you don't enforce the rules, they won't be followed. But we cannot ignore the fact that 40,000 people arrested in how much time was that? I mean, it could give room to a lot of extortion.
I think it's a good example. I really wanted to take the story because I think that countries should really emulate these types of lockdown measures, because as you can see in Zimbabwe, their cases are relatively low. I mean, stay home,
from what they've tested so far. I don't know. Yes, no, I agree with you.
If you look at the basis for the arrests that have been carried out, people opening their shops, their business centers without exemption, people not using their face masks, people not obeying traffic laws and generally violating the law that is in place. There is a law that is in place in Zimbabwe made specifically for COVID-19. And the penalty there is between $200 Zimbabwe up to $500 and imprisonment for 1 year. And you will expect that even with such a stringent law in place, people will obey it.
But no.
But here in Nigeria, I would like to see, let me say I would like to see, a rigorous enforcement of the guidelines of the, lockdown in some parts of the country. Because here in Nigeria, people don't seem to understand the state safe, take responsibility message.
Too much indiscipline.
And there must be proper enforcement. I know mobile courts have been created in many parts of the country, in states. But those mobile courts have also, again, not deterred people. But I think I have nothing against enforcement.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
As for extortion, well, the police, they are corrupt everywhere, aren't they? Even in the United States.
Yes, let's take our next story in the U.S., like you've just brought up. As the country continues to process the heartbreaking and unjust murder of George Floyd by a Minneapolis police officer, many are finding ways to express their frustration and pay tribute. Now, a 12-year-old Kedron Bryant has gone viral after posting himself singing a heartfelt song about the realities of being black in America. Let's take a listen.
I'm a young black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind, every day I'm being hunted as prey. My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough struggle. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.
This was so moving yesterday when I saw it. I mean, I cried. I mean, it really is heartfelt. I mean, just thinking about the story again and again in my head throughout last night, I couldn't help
but... The video gave me nightmares.
Yes, did you watch it again?
Yeah, like, it's honestly so disturbing. I haven't been able to get it out of my mind. I don't know if you're going through the same thing.
Yes.
But the reaction that it has caused all over the world...
I mean, yesterday, CCTV videos circulated on social media about how this man did not even, resist arrest. I don't know if you saw that video. It was everywhere. I mean, this man was murdered in cold blood.
But quickly to the song, I just want to leave. God protect me.
Yes.
That in itself is a song of anguish, of frustration with the state, the American state. And, you find increasingly a situation where black persons do not feel safe in the United States. And I think that that's a real problem.
Yeah, it certainly
thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Batu. Thank you, Leila.